when you're at your house, I hope you have a good time. And if you live in Australia, if you live in Australia, then then if you live there, then we live in Texas, and we need ears because we can hear. And my dad loves radios. I hope you have a good time with your video games and hooks up.
Alright, welcome back to another installment of Julian's Random Projects. Today we're going to be installing the AD203 Alpha Delta-203 from a company in Italy called RM. Now these got a bunch of different names. Stinger boards is another one. I'm not sure if that was a brand name from them or if that's a colloquialism. I don't know. Not been into CBs long enough to know. But the design has been around for quite a while. There's a lot of different mods to it. We might do some of those today, which include beefing up some of the traces or snipping this resistor and running it to a switch, which becomes a high-low switch. And I think that's because this is, and you can tell how large it is, I think this is a current limiting or a power limiting resistor going into this. So if you mismatch this little board with maybe a little bit hotter running radio, let's say that this thing is designed to take in 4 watts, you end up giving it 6 or 8, and some of the components get a little too hot. Yeah, it starts putting out more power, but it wasn't designed for it. Then you start damaging it, shorten the life of this thing, or completely popping it. So the company wisely put in a current limiting resistor. So if you did do 8, but this thing's designed for 4, it would shed those other 4 watts to heat through this resistor. So it's going to get real good and hot, but I'll play with that. And also the McKinley, it has the ability in software to inker-dinker the power. So we'll mess around with some of that. We'll measure its output stock, and then we'll measure it with the amp when we're done. So yeah, pitter patter. Let's get at her.
And in Yemen blow the whistle, no fireman he ring the bell. And in Yemen blow the whistle, no fireman he ring the bell.
Test. Audio. So we're pushing a 4 watt there. We're just talking. And it's a 10 on a whistle, so peaks are 10. Alright, so that's stock. Alright, so far I've removed the original power connector and put in an Anderson power pole. It'll carry a lot more current, and a lot of the stuff that I'm rocking 12 volts on around the house is on Anderson already, so that'll be convenient. I also removed the center pin and shield for the RX TX lines that were coming out of here. Now instead of coming out of here and into this connector, or from the board and straight out, it'll go from the board to the amp, from the amp to this connector.
I didn't have time to tell my baby very well.
Alright, boys and girls, we are on the home stretch now. Don't mind the air conditioner. It's getting hot here in Texas. I was about to just send it, and then I realized, Julian, you didn't work on all that stuff just to have it go up in smoke. You big dummy. Put a fuse in line. And it's very kind of those Italians to send an uprated fuse, because we have added an item. And we still might pop this when we go to high power on this guy. So let's find out. Just gotta remove the old one. Don't want to hook it up, cut up backwards. Have your pixies dancing the wrong way. There's ground. Now on the back side here, you guys saw the Anderson earlier. We have on and off for the amp, and not intuitive. We have low and high, but I did that on purpose. I figured either me, with gloves on or something, or somebody else, if this radio goes on to another owner, if they reach back behind the dashboard to put the amp on, maybe they felt like they had it and they flipped this guy up. I didn't want them to be putting it in high when they didn't mean to. So in the up position of on, which is how I think we're gonna be rocking this amp often, and then if you put both in the up position, it's the safer of the two. I don't know if that makes sense. I talked myself into it earlier, so that's what we're doing. All right, let's see if we can get any magic smoke to come out. There we go, watch that current. Got a handy dandy fan on. Now this is gonna get noisy. All right, and the big old fan is just for testing purposes right now. I'm later gonna do either a goofy heat sink, maybe something a little bit more low profile on it, or might even get crazy and water cool it. God only knows. That's for another day. We just need to check basic functionality. So, test, testing 1, 2, audio. So it looks like we're down on power for adding all the terminations in. It's not a lossless pass-through when you turn this amp off now, which is a bit unfortunate, but what are you gonna do? And I thought as much, which is why I figured we'd probably be rocking this thing on all the time, and then I would just turn it down in the software settings where you can tune the power out on this guy. So we'll play around with that a little bit. Up to 100, amp on, audio, test. All right, there's 30. All right, I'm going for it. I put it on high. Testing 1, 2, test. Testing audio. All right, 50 watts, not bad. Pretty promising results. 50 watts out for a radio that normally does 10 or 12, I think was what we had originally. Doubling your power on a radio is quite a lot of effort, and so we doubled it effectively twice, so from 10 to 20, from 20 to 40-ish, depending on the settings we have here. We're pushing between 35 and 50 watts, and I think that's pretty good. I'm going to monitor what type of talking and shooting the shit versus just hitting somebody up really quick, what that produces in heat. Okay, I monitor it. Some days I'll rock it with no fan, have the fan on standby in case it gets we're gonna start cooking eggs on the top of this thing. If it does well, I might just close up the shell and just put a little note on here, don't key up for too long. Or I might put a small heat sink and a tiny Noctua fan or something like that. But either way, really impressed with this little AD203. And you might see some more experimentation videos, maybe the next step, see if this thing can drive. Well, I need to figure out what it sounds like audio wise, and I've got some other equipment and that I might be hooking up an O-scope with to monitor the audio out and make sure that I'm setting my modulation. Again, we can tweak some of those things in the settings here. If we're clipping or looking a little hot, I can dial it back, or maybe even boost it up and get it dialed in just right. So that'll be in a future video. We'll get this thing dialed in and looking nice on a scope, and then also see if we can use it to drive the big Heath kit. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Thanks for watching Julian's Random Projects. That's a whole lot of trying. Super 6-4, set it.
Super 6-4, you got Mr. 95 Main, just sitting on the side with some blood.
95 Main, appreciate it, man. Yeah, I just took the golden screwdriver here to this McKinley and got it all tuned up, so just trying to see if I can get out. Super 6-4, Central Texas.
Roger that there, Super 6-4, she's sounding good from my end. Roger that, yeah, you got Mid-Coast Main here, Mid-Coast Main.
Main, roger that. Yeah, I think we got a direct link up there, a lot of that coming in. You have an S meter on your side?
Yes, sir, I do. You're giving me a good 8 to 9 am I receive on my ground plane as we speak.
Roger that, appreciate it. I'm going to try and bump it up here one time.
Yeah, give it the corn, bub.
There it is. That's all I got. That's all I can muster on this Mud Duck radio with tweaked final Super 6.4 saying 73s.
Roger that Super 6.4, and you know you did come up into the cherry patch, so that did make a slight little world of difference. Or Mother Nature gave you a favor, but I'm gonna say it was what you did there. That whole extra 50 watts or something you just pounded out. Gave her the corn, gave her enough corn to throw her in the red there, bub. I'd say you did a fine job on that. Don't be afraid to throw the screwdriver into a few more radios. After that, yeah, 732 from 95 Maine. I'm gonna be QRT a bit.
Roger that. Appreciate the signal report 95. Appreciate the signal report up there. Super 6.4 saying 73s until we do it again. I'll be on the side listening.